my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Beginning words of the song that is very familiar to many, that have brought comfort to many, where we are placed in the role of sheep. Lucky us. Don't they have a good reputation? But the thing of it is, granted, sheep have been given a reputation as stupid animals, but I have it on good authority that their reputation is not completely deserved. The vicious rumor that sheep are dumb is prejudiced, ugly rumor perpetrated by cattle ranchers. They say that sheep are dumb because they do not behave like cattle. The difference is that cows are herded from the rear by cowboys who crack their whips to keep them in line. In other words, the cowboy gets behind the cattle and keeps them moving, and that will not work with sheep. If you stand behind sheep and make loud noises to get them to move, they will go crazy trying to get behind you. Sheep prefer to be led. You push cows, but you lead sheep. Sheep will not go anywhere if someone else does not go first. They need a shepherd who will go ahead of them to show them that things are all right. This may mean that sheep are not so dumb, that they are smart enough to know that they cannot find their way alone. They need someone to lead them and to guide them. And don't we all need people sometimes in that role? Someone we can look up to admire, to guide us. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. There is a kind of bonding that goes on between sheep and shepherd. They become like family. The relationship grows between the two, and it is absolutely exclusive. Shepherd and sheep develop a way of communicating that outsiders are not able to understand. A good shepherd learns to distinguish a bleat of pain from one of pleasure. The sheep know that certain cluck of the tongue that means there is food available, or a two-note song means it's time to go home. Even today in Palestine and in other places where sheep are raised, one can watch what Jesus almost certainly saw 2,000 years ago. Shepherds bringing their flocks home from the pastures where they have been grazing all day. Quite often the flocks wind up at the same watering hole around dusk, and the sheep get all mixed in together. 8 or 9 small flocks turn into a collection of 30 or 40 sheep around one watering hole. But the shepherds never worry about the mix-up. When it's time to go home, each shepherd issues his or her own distinctive call, a special whistle, a particular tune, or a reed pipe, and the sheep will leave the crowd to follow their shepherd home. They know who they belong to. They know the shepherd's voice, and it is the only one they will follow. I'm reminded of one of my favorite stories, and it's one some of you may have heard before. It's about a young man who wanted to learn about jade. And And so he went to a jade master who had agreed to teach him. The master had the young man sit in front of him, gave him a piece of jade to hold in his hands, and began to talk about life. At the end of several hours, he sent the young man home and told him to return the next day. When the young man returned the next day, once again, he had him hold a piece of jade, sit in front of him, and spoke all day long about the wonders of nature. At the end of the day, he sent the young man home. This ritual went on for several days. Finally, one morning, when the same day started identically, the young man protested, "We have done this every day. I want to learn about jade, not about these other things." What was he doing? The master asked him to be quiet, to sit down again, and handed him a stone. And the young man exclaimed, "This isn't jade." And the master responded, "That's right." He'd spent enough time with real jade, holding, rubbing the texture, looking at the color, feeling the weight, that when he was given a stone that was not jade, he recognized it immediately. One of the most important challenges for us is who we listen to and who we follow, who we admire, who we look up to, who we look to for truth. And in the church, we need to be informed enough to know when someone is speaking on behalf of the faith and what it means to be a Christian, whether what they are saying is true or not. Jesus taught the parables of the lost coin, the lost sheep, the lost son, all about the value of every single person. No exceptions. Jesus taught the parable of the Good Samaritan, where the hero of the story is the social outcast among the people he was talking to. Jesus taught the story about the Pharisee and the tax collector, where the hero is the most hated and rejected. And there was the encounter with the woman at the well, where Jesus invites whoever has not sinned to be the first to throw a stone at her. Jesus taught about healing the sick, about caring for the poor, and loving our enemies. Jesus hung around with sinners and prostitutes and people on the edges of society. Jesus challenged the people in power and the proud religious types who stood on the street corners and placed rules and restrictions on who was going to be in and who was going to be out. If sheep spend enough time with their shepherd, they recognize the signals, the sound of their voice, the way they are guided. And if we spend enough time with sources of truth, that which is loving, kind, generous, and honest, we recognize what is jade and what is not jade. We recognize what is gospel and what is not gospel. We recognize what is Christ-like and what is not Christ-like. And by the way, Sally Kern is not jade. Bill Mueller, who taught at Yale for a number of years, writes in one of his books that on any given Sunday, in every congregation, usually half of the congregation think of themselves as lost sheep. Many of them thought about maybe not going to church that day, not because they had something more important to do, but because they didn't know whether or not they Being a member of the flock is not based on what we do. It is based on what the shepherd does. Think about the 23rd Psalm. Many of you know it by heart. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me in paths of righteousness. The psalm is about the character of the shepherd and about recognizing the character of the shepherd rather than the nature of the sheep. It is about what the shepherd